So, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Anyone can reply? Can you hear me? Even you can text if you can hear me. Okay, somebody has texted. Okay. So, though it's only 4, 5 students, but I think we should not waste our time and we should start. So, this session is mainly for orientation because there was major changes in May 2025, which we have noticed as mentor. What were the changes? I'll address one by one. So let's start with labor ward. What was the difference in labor ward prioritization cases? In labor ward, the change was first thing. Normally, we start introduction, but many students inform me that they were interrupting when they started any kind of introduction. So I would suggest prepare your introduction. If your examiner interrupts, then you stop further introduction and do not get nervous because there are different kind of examiners. Few examiners may allow you to do proper introduction about the labor ward. Few may ask not to do that. In both the cases, do not get disturbed, do not get confused. You just prepare your introduction. If your examiner allows, good enough. If not allowed, then just move on with your rooms. Second very important thing, which always I used to mention in all my labor ward courses, that you should always start with urgent room. And in this May 2025, when some students or few students started from like room 1, room 2, they interrupted. In fact, few students were given extra 1 minute inside, not extra, that they have asked to take 1 minute and go through the list and just pick the urgent room and then start with urgent rooms. So this is what something which I have been saying since beginning, that you should always start with urgent room. Second, whenever you are allocating the task or allotting the task or delegating the task, be very careful that in each urgent room, I have seen many a time, students try to go in each room. I'll go in this room, I'll go in this room. Examiner also interrupting if you say in each room. Then they say, if you are in this room, how you are going to be in that room? If you are in that room, how you are going to be in that room? That's why urgent room is always asked to pick first, because in that case, you can delegate tasks properly. And most importantly, see, you are ST5, there is one consultant for you, and ST5 anesthetist. So always make a rule. When there is any anaphylaxis, when there is something which should be managed in high dependency units, say something like patient with maternal collapse, patient with some penicillin anaphylaxis, do not rush yourself to death room. Your ST5 anesthetist or ST4 anesthetist with midwife, or at the max ST1 you can send there. So that is very important thing which you have to take care during your management. Third, if there are two rooms and your consultant is saying or your examiner is saying that there is no consultant, in that case, you go to the room where probably you won't be needing that much. Just for example, there is a case of pathological CTG, right? In pathological CTG, there are certain conservative management. You also offer acute events. So you can say that I can send my midwife who can put IV cannula and my ST who can just rule out acute events and the stuff. Sometimes I need to my also case in doctor. I had to take the time off of the due to studying and I was going out to society. Yeah. So everyone, please keep yourself mute because it disrupts my flow of thought. So in that case, you can say, I'll send my ST1. If your examiner says so in pathological CTG, you are going to send your a junior, you're not going to go, then you can explain it, because this time examiner was very interactive in all the circuits for labor work. So you should have a befitting reply for this. And what is the befitting reply for this? As of now, we have to rule out acute events. Like if there is hypertonic contraction, it can be managed by midwife and ST1. Because if there is oxytocin, you have to stop that. If still no response, then you can put her on terbutaline. We can put her on IV fluid, left lateral position. So these are the conservative management. So you can say, my ST1 can rule out acute events and can start conservative management and can also do the fetal scalp stimulation. Is still no response, then I can rush, or I can, meanwhile, we can contact our consultant. So be very careful while delegating the tasks because they are very interactive. If you say anything very haphazard, you are going to get trapped in that. And very importantly, there is one matrix of progression where they have given what ST1 to ST5 is eligible to perform. And that eligibility is very important to remember that which particular procedure that particular ST is eligible for. Like a perennial tear grade 3, ST4 can tear that, repair that. So if ST4 is given, and if you have noticed there is one perennial tear task, keep that ST4 for that task. So that way you have to delegate tasks. And third, I always say whenever there is labor ward prioritization or gynae ward prioritization, you should always do the S bar because here again they are giving very little information in your task which you see outside the chamber. Very little information. It was like Mrs. So and so, room number so and so, she just delivered, or she is 40 weeks, she is for induction, or she is like diabetes, very less information. So S bar is very important because after situation and background, you have to do assessment by asking only one line, any information. Only after that you can prioritize the case, whether it's semi-urgent, urgent, or routine. In any information, at times examiners have asked which particular information you would like to have. So you must be knowing, or you must have that presence of mind that in particular this task, what all information I would like to gather, rather than saying anything randomly. Just for the example, a patient who has been admitted with a spontaneous labor and previous cesarean. Understand the difference. When it is not given VBAC trial, probably she has not been counseled for that. If they have given VBAC trial, then it's a different thing. If they have not given VBAC trial, they have just written that spontaneous labor with previous cesarean, then what information you would like to have first? What was the indication of previous cesarean? Second, whether it was a midline incision, right? Any other surgeries? So these are going to be your important information, whether she has been counseled about VBAC trial pros and cons. Vitals definitely would like to know. So CTG definitely would like to know. So any information now has become very important part of labor ward prioritization. After that, you can do your prioritization, whether it's urgent, semi-urgent, routine, or whatever it is. Now, one question arises. Now I'm saying that you have to go by the room, urgent room first. Then I'm saying that you have to prioritize after the any information. Definitely. Whatever you think that it is appearing as urgent room outside the chamber at first glimpse. Say, if there is a patient who has come for preeclampsia, induction of labor, and BP is 180, 120. So immediately that is appearing as urgent room, or there is a pathological CTG, it's been more than 30 minutes, or patient has been shifted from home for the delayed progress of labor or MSL. So this is going to be at very first instance that it is urgent room. So definitely you're going to start with that room. Other than that, if you get any information which you are considering probably as a semi-urgent room, will become urgent room with information. Just like if a patient has, like there is one patient awaiting perineal tier 3 suturing. So in information, you will ask, I would like to know vitals. I would like to know if there is any bleeding from tear or uterus is contracted, or what is the blood loss so far. So if they give you any information, okay, uterus is atonic or blood loss was this much, or there is bleeding from the perineal tear, which is heavy, or it is continuous bleeding. So suddenly it will become urgent from semi-urgent. Though your ST4 is going to go there because ST4 is can suture that, can repair that. So this is how now labor ward prioritization has become a very dynamic and evolving and moreover interactive. When I appeared in exam, I remember categorically my examiner was sitting idle, giving me no information. Right? So now this is the first change which I have noticed in this exam. The very first change which I have noticed. So be very, very careful that in labor ward prioritize, because labor ward prioritization is a consistent task. You just consider it as paper leak. So there should not be any mistake in labor ward prioritization task. Any question for labor ward prioritization so far? Anyone? Any question? Okay. So as there is no question for labor ward prioritization, I just wanted to inform you that just MRCOG runs exclusive labor ward, gynae ward course where we include labor ward prioritization, gynae ward prioritization, post gynae rooms, and OPD prioritization as well. We cover 100 rooms. Earlier we were covering 86 rooms, but after May exam, we have added further 14 rooms. So it is now 100 rooms we are going to cover. It is going to be live session course. Every Wednesday night, we are going to take this live session course. It is going to be 12-week course. After this course, there will be individual mock for every student who has bought this labor ward course. And that is going to be a mock including one labor ward and one gynae ward station. This we are going to start from Jan itself and going to be 12 weeks course. Now coming to next task. What is the difference in task we have noticed this time? In task, again, I have noticed that there was lots of, I wouldn't say something out of the box, but again, a role player has come with lots of agendas. Earlier, it used to be mainly one agenda, but now I see there are two, three agendas. Like one task with Mular, she was also a case of Crohn's disease, and she was also having excessive vomiting. So here there are three agendas. You have to little bit discuss about Crohn's as well, right? And because she was having excessive vomiting, so you have to manage that hyperemesis gravidarum as well. And molar, obviously, that was the main agenda. So now there are two, three agendas they are giving. So be very careful. Do not just stick to one agenda. Just like that one task that is like menopause. She has come for HRT and she is having breast cancer. So definitely you are going to talk about HRT here, but as she is having breast cancer, the one agenda is talking about breast cancer. What all surgery, any chemotherapy, radiotherapy, when she meet her specialist last, any recurrence, but this like affected both breasts. These are going to be your um, points which will help you in making your second part of the task. When I say second part of the task, it means after examination. And after examination, what we all include? That we say BBN, then what is the diagnosis? Then you explain diagnosis, then you give the causes of that diagnosis, then what are the complications, then MDT, and then the treatment, and then PIL and consultant and GP reference. They are very interactive in SD as well, right? They ask very small question which you normally think that they won't be asking. Like ST1 or FI1 has initiated sepsis 6 care bundle. Was it required? In these kind of question, you have to be very, very thoughtful because no blame culture NHS follows. So first you will say that I will definitely educate or inform FI1 about the right steps, but in no blame culture without undermining him or her. This is how they are asking different questions. So you have to be very particular about even small questions. And as I always say, do not try to dive deep into ocean. Just try to swim superficial. It is not a exam for checking your knowledge. They have already conducted part 2 for that, which you have already cleared. Here they want to see whether you are able to jot down complete task in 10 minutes. So part 3 is basically mainly about speaking with applied clinical knowledge for sure, because you cannot give wrong information. If you give wrong information, it is going to affect your patient safety, patient communication, and applied clinical knowledge, all three domains. So in task, I would suggest what all changes. First, there can be more than one agenda. So be careful. You have to address all the agendas in second part of your task. And there can be very simple question in SDs, but you have to answer very carefully about that. Even if you give any wrong answer, like the task is like serum lactase was 1.3 millimole, and FY1 has triggered sepsis care bundle. So you will say, first you will inform, no, it has to be 2 or more than that. When it is severe, it is 4 or more than that. Then we are supposed to trigger, or when we are supposed to implement that septic care bundle. That way, you have to give the right answer, and simultaneously you have to cover up, not cover up, but you are not supposed to undermine your junior. So in SD now, examiners are very interactive. So in ST, definitely you cannot fool around. You have to have a thorough control and thorough knowledge of that particular topic. And now coming to talk. Every now and then, one or other talk they are publishing. And they have given even a talk which was published in April 2025, and there was a task about it. So whatever talk is they are publishing, you have to prepare that. Now, what is important in talk? Definitely, you should know about the condition. You should know about the causes. You should know what all examination. You should know about the investigation, and you should know about the treatment. Again, it's only 10 minutes you get. So do not try to make long answer keys. Do not try to learn long answer keys, because you won't be able to finish in 10 minutes. In this exam, one more thing, most of the students have noticed or informed that few tasks, role play was speaking a lot, a lot. So if you have prepared very long answer keys, definitely you're not going to. In one task, I don't remember task per se, but most of the students' feedback was role player spoke almost for 4.5 minutes. So practically you got only 5.5 minutes. You have to cover your information gathering. In that case, you have to play a little bit smart. When role player is taking 4.5 minutes, you have to cut short your information gathering. Just talk, which is very important, which can affect your treatment plan. Second part of the task, you have to touch and go. Mention the treatment name if there is any procedure. What is the principle of that procedure? What is the success rate and complication of that procedure, and move on. Then you will put under our sleeve, there will an expert team, then a keyhole, small incision here and there, then we'll look around, paranomic. No, it's not required. It's not required. If there is any consent task, I've seen students find it little bit difficult to address consent task. It's very simple. Do no need to remember any mnemonic or anything. Simple. Whenever there is consent task, take information gathering. Ask why she is willing for this particular surgery. What is the indication? What all treatment she has taken so far? What is her fertility concern if it is relevant? Any other surgeries, medical, etc. Now coming to second part of the task, quickly examine her, explain her investigation report, and simply start from the, just follow that enhanced recovery program. So start with the pre surgery or pre-op optimization. What we do, that GP, primary care, optimization of your anemia, diabetes, whatever it is. Then talk about the discharge, when you'll get admitted, discharge date, they decide everything. Then talk about consent. In consent, what is the full name? What is the advantage? What are the risks? What are the benefits? Then talk about pre-anesthetic checkup, that you will be seen by the sleep doctor and you will be given fitness. Then talk about expert team, who is going to operate. Then what is going to be choice of in season and why you are choosing that particular in season. Then talk about little bit about surgery, at what position, what kind of surgery, like how you are going to proceed, whether it's a keyhole or it's a cut just above bikini line, and how you are going to take all these structures one by one, how you are going to close it, what all preparation or precaution you are going to take, like hemostasis, etc. Then you are going to send it for the testing, right? And then provide her PIL and arrange a meeting with consultant for sure a patient is coming for any major procedure for further detailing. Never insist patient to sign consent. Simply say, are you willing to sign consent? If she says, no, I need some time, simply say, absolutely fine. These are information, PIL or information leaflet or written information. Go through that and I can arrange a meeting with my consultant for further detailing, which will help you in taking a decision. If she is like coming for total abdominal hysterectomy and she's asking for ovaries and other things, answer clearly. If she is like perimenopausal, menopausal, or if she is in early 40s, then how you are going to reply that? Right? Because at time, patient or role player may try to, not, I would say trap, but just to understand your knowledge. Because earlier, wherever they were saying something, so we used to get it that way. Okay, they are giving hint that you have to say this particular, you have to pick up that topic. No, this time what I have noticed, they were asking the questions which you should not offer, because they were asking. So I've seen that students were offering, okay, you can go for uterine transplant. Okay, you can. No, be very careful. Endometrial carcinoma, hysterectomy being performed. Now patient has come for fertility preservation. So some are saying it is fertility preservation. Some are saying it is, she has come for conception. Understand the difference. If she has come for the conception, as early as possible, it is going to be surrogacy or medical tourist adoption. But if she has come for the fertility preservation, you have to mention egg preservation. You have to mention embryo preservation, because there is difference between two. Fertility preservation means she has plans to conceive, maybe now, maybe after a year, maybe after 6 years. But if she says that's why you have to be a very good listener while taking HUPI. May I know your concern for today's consultation? I want to conceive. Okay, then second question. May I know when you are planning to conceive? If she says as early as possible, surrogacy. If she says not right now, but say after a year or 2 years, then surrogacy is not going to be first choice for sure. It is going to be egg preservation, because she's already 34. We do not offer, we do not suggest egg preservation after 35. So first should be egg preservation, then talking about surrogacy. Am I clear about girls? Am I clear about this? Anyone, if you can like switch on your camera, so that will be great. Anyone? Or at least respond, so it will be like two ways interaction. Anyone? Hi girls. Am I clear so far? Am I audible, dear? Am I audible, dear? Okay. So now it's clear to you how to approach tasks, because this time these were the differences which we have noticed, or at least I have noticed as a mentor. So definitely I'm going to take care of these changes in my courses, which we are going to start in June. Before starting granulation tissue episiotomy, just a brief idea about my courses. So I have two long courses. One is AMMR 16 weeks, which we are going to start from June, and it is going to be a live course where there are going to be 6 to 8 active participants in every schedule. In every session, we are going to have 8 tasks from each module, and last 3 sessions like 14, 15, and 16, I keep it as miscellaneous, where you'll get the tasks from all the modules, and it is going to be very difficult task for last 3 sessions, that I call it as miscellaneous session, where I keep task from all modules and the most difficult one. So last 3 sessions are going to be miscellaneous one. And the next session I'm going to start of this course once the result is out, and whoever wants to join after that. And this first batch I'm going to start as early as possible in June, and this is a very good course for the first timer, because we are going to start from scratch. How to speak, what we do in information gathering, what does it mean by second part of the task, what is BBN, how to explain any diagnosis. So we are going to start from scratch. So this is going to be a very good opportunity who is appearing for the first time, who has never wrote this exam ever before. So that is going to be very helpful for them. So there are going to be 2 sessions or 2 courses, one which we are going to start right away in June, and second after the result. And the third course is unique. This is very close to my heart. And it's been 2.5 years, and we had very, very good results of unique course, where there is one-to-one mentorship when you are going to be there with me, an exclusive batch, that is a Telegram batch, 24 hours, 7, supportive and active, where you will be given your schedule and where you will be given all your recordings and whatever your queries. And here we are going to cover all modules. And again, in this course as well, last 2 sessions I keep as mock. Last 2 sessions I keep as mini mock, where you are going to present 7 tasks in one go, just like exam. So last 2 sessions covering 2 mini mocks, again from different modules, difficult tasks, and exactly mimicking the exam by 7 tasks in one go, then talking about the task, answer key, giving feedback. In most of my courses or in most of my sessions, if I do not find that that task has not been performed, like not even 50%, I perform that task myself. Rather, I would say 70-80% I perform task myself after each task. This is just to make you clear that it is possible to present that task in 10 minutes. So this is all about my courses. If you have any query, you can DM me or you can WhatsApp me. So now this is granulation tissue. Any volunteer who wants to present, or I can go ahead with the key. Anyone? Anyone wants to present, or should I go ahead with keys? Sorry. Anyone? Anyone wants to present, or should I go ahead with keys, girls? At least switch on your camera, or at least say something. At least you can say something. If you don't want to switch on your camera, that's fine. Hi, girls. No one is responding. Swati, VM, Sharda, Nilansh, Fazia, Hangi, Samaira, Iman. Noor Jahan. Traveling, yes. Noor Jahan, you want to present or you want me to read the task? Answer key. Unmute yourself, dears. At least answer so I can proceed. Answer key. Okay, so Noor Jahan saying that answer key. Okay, no issue. Let's start with granulation tissue answer key. So after your introduction, setting agenda, taking permission for asking question, what is going to be your HOPI? The very first HOPI is going to be postpartum period. That what all details you would like to have? Pain, since when she is having, whether she has taken any treatment for that. If she has taken, is there any improvement? Can she score from 0 to 10 and 10 is being maximum? Any discomfort, if there is any bleeding, any swelling, any feeling, any growth or lump, whether she is following her episiotomy care. That's very, very important. Sexual activity, whether she has started her sexual activity, whether she has resumed her menses, whether she has been offered any contraception. These are going to be your immediate HOPI regarding postpartum. Other than that, because it is something at episiotomy, you can also ask about bowel and the bladder habits. Bowel and the bladder habits. That's again very, very important. When you ask about the bleeding, so these questions about pain, discomfort, bleeding, swelling, feeling, growth is for growth or episiotomy granulation tissue. Other than that, Ravindra, please mute yourself. Thank you. So, other than that, that routine postpartum 5Bs which we ask, that is going to be bowel, bladder, breastfeeding, very, very important. Bleeding from down below, that we have already asked whether there's bleeding or whether she has resumed her menses, because she may come after 6 weeks, she may come after 8 weeks, she may come after even 12 weeks. So accordingly, you are going to ask this question. After that, delivery details. It's very, very important. How did she deliver? Whether she is a priming, whether any instrument was applied, because it is more common in a priming and where instruments were applied. So that's why delivery details are very, very important. Whether is there any perineal tear? If it was there, then how it was repaired? Was there any complication? Is she performing PFMT? These questions are very important for delivery details. Now coming to pregnancy details, current and the previous. Here, nothing to be asked much in current pregnancy other than that how your pregnancy be. That's it. Only because granulation tissue is not more in diabetic patient or anemic patient, nothing like that. So no need to dig much into the current pregnancy details. Same with previous. The only one question, if she has any previous pregnancy, you are going to ask whether she has same complaints in her previous delivery. If she had any tear or episiotomy, first you are going to ask this question. If she says yes, then you are going to ask whether you had same complaint in your previous delivery or after previous delivery as well. This is going to be your HOPI. Rest is going to be your routine HOPI. Am I clear about this? Am I clear about this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for replying. Now examination. After routine, it is going to be examination. So my nurse will check you for your observation, and I will do a very gentle examination. I will be using lots of lubricant. At any point, if you find any discomfort, you can stop me, because do not forget that she has come with the complaint of continuous pain down below. Probably she won't be comfortable. So when you ask permission, if she says, no, 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 I'm not comfortable, then then assure her it is unstable. I will be very gentle, using lots of lubricant, may apply numbing gel, but it's important to check from down below to confirm the diagnosis to offer you appropriate and safe management plan. Even having a look from outside without using my finger, that will be helpful, because episiotomy scar you can see outside. Though you will also like to see if there is any growth in vaginal mucosa, that is also possible. Or mostly we see there is some granulation tissue in vaginal mucosa. So that for that you need to do that digital examination or doing the pulse speculum. But if she is not comfortable, then you can say that at least, if you permit me, I would like to have a look from outside. You can just apart your legs, and I'll just quickly have a look. But examination you have to offer, and you have to be very, very empathetic, and you have to use certain buzzwords. Understand that you are having pain down below. Gentle examination, lubricants, numbing gel. Important to make a diagnosis. If you allow me, I will just like to have a look. So these are very important. And what you are going to find in examination, if it is a normal episiotomy with normal granulation tissue, it is going to be pink, it is going to be moist, cobblestone-like, it is going to be painless. That is the main differential diagnosis. Soft in touch, bleeds with minimal contact. So this is going to be your differential diagnosis, whether it's a granulation tissue which is hypertrophic, or it because granulation tissue is a normal healing process. Right? So this is going to be your differential diagnosis. This is going to be your differential diagnosis point, because for hypertrophic, it is going to be raised above the wound area or wound surface. It is going to be raised above the wound surface, and it is going to be red area, not the pink one. Pain on touch. So these are going to be differential point. Raised above wound surface, red area, pain on touch. Though both bleeds easily, but this is definitely friable, so bleeds quite easily, though it may also bleed with minimal contact. Right? So if you have been given any such information, you can make a diagnosis. Probably GP has examined her and now she has referred her to you. So examination being given. If examination being done within a day or so, please do not offer her another examination. Just discuss or just inform her about examination. Be very careful about that. If you ask her to re-examine, it means you are undermining your colleague. Be very careful. There is a probability that they may give you a diagram where they are showing. I'll just post that diagram in our exclusive November batch group, so you can see that. There is a possibility, rather than giving examination, they can give you a picture. So you should be able to identify hypertrophic granulation tissue. Am I clear so far, girls? Am I clear so
Yes,
far?
ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to second part of the task. Second part of the task, you'll start with mild BBN. Then you will explain what is granulation tissue, what are the causes, and what is the treatment. Why mild BBN? Because she may need surgery as well at the end. So what is mild BBN? Mild BBN is a simple thing that I have to share lots of information. Do you want someone to be with you? Or I can proceed. Moderate BBN, then you'll say, I have to share lots of concerning information. Do you want someone to be with you? Major BBN, I have to share some difficult information. Do you want someone to be with you? So these are three kind of BVN. This is going to be a mild BVN. So first you will do the BVN, then you are going to explain what is she having. So how you are going to say it? You are going to say that after combining your history and examination, what I understand that it is granulation tissue or overgrowing granulation tissue in your episiotomy scar or in your cut down below. Do you have any idea about it? Whatever she replies. Granulation tissue formation is a normal process of healing, but at times overhealing occurs leading to formation of more granulation tissue than necessary. Again, one more advice. I have seen students explaining diagnosis in 4 or 5 lines. Do not do that. While explaining the diagnosis, simultaneously draw diagram. So simply say it's a normal process of healing, but at times, because having granulation tissue is not a problem, that is not a pathology. But at times when healing occurs leading to, overhealing occurs leading to formation of more granulation tissue than necessary. And this leads to raised red patches of tissue, which is causing or which causes pain, painful intercourse, bleeding, some watery discharge, and a palpable lump or mass down below. Though 15% patient or mothers may be asymptomatic in spite of having it. Am I clear about the diagnosis? How to explain this? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, we have to say that it is a normal process, and but in
Granulation
your
tissue is always a normal process. No, whenever there is any healing, what happens? There is a formation of granulation tissue.
granular,
But
yeah.
it is showing that granulation, the task is that either they are going to give you any diagram where you can see that there is overgrowing granulation tissue. As I told you, I'll post a diagram so it will be easy for you to understand. Or otherwise, in examination, they might have given you that. So that's why. If task is there is granulation tissue in episiotomy which is causing pain. So again, as I told you here, this is how you are going to differentiate. Clear? Clear?
Yes, yes,
Because it is showing that granulation tissue and she is having pain there, which is 24 hours 7. This is your differentiating point. That it is not a normal granulation tissue. Probably it is overhealing occurred there. Clear? Okay. So if
yes.
you have time, if you have enough time, you can say that 2 to 3 out of 100 women may have this condition. It is mostly common in nulliparous like first delivery, or if we use instrument, if there is any third degree perineal or fourth degree tear down below, or if we give any cut. And if there is increased frequency of episiotomies. So it is not only nulliparous. Remember that. If patient is third gravida, fourth gravida, then again it becomes very important that while taking her history of previous delivery, you are going to specifically ask, have you been given cut down below in all your deliveries? Because that is again going to be a risk factor. If you ask these questions, so you are going to inform your examiner that I know what can be the risk factor in this particular patient. Clear, girls?
Yes.
So this is how you are going to ask. That it is more common in primary, this and that. So you can say that. But she has like third delivery of she was having fourth delivery. And every time she has episiotomy. So there is increased number of episiotomy, which has made her prone for having hypertrophic granulation tissue. Very important, please do not link with smoking, BMI, and diabetes, which we normally do in most of the tasks. Because of this, you are having. There is no relation as per talk with these things with hypertrophic. So please do not commit this mistake. That's very important. It's going to affect your patient safety and communication because you are giving wrong information. Yes, Ravinder, what question you want to ask? Tell me.
Ma'am, once the patient, yesterday I saw one patient and she had this granulation tissue. So
Hmm.
she was asking like this, that is it because I had the instrumental delivery, they done instrument with me, that's why I have this granulation tissue? Is it because of this?
Instrumental delivery is
And
a
she
risk
had
factor.
third eight year, 3 8 year. So she was asking me a very straight question, and I was bit, getting confused if I say yes.
Whenever
So
patients say anything, make a rule. Never say yes, never say no. No, 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 you don't have cancer. Yes, 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 you have cancer. It's difficult to pinpoint, but that can be one of the reasons. Now you understand, Abhinda?
yeah, I should say that it's difficult to pinpoint what was causing the granulation tissue, but it could be due to the instrumental
No,
delivery.
no, 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 not due to. Not due to. If you say due to, then you are pinpointing. That can be
Okay,
one of the reasons.
okay, that can one of the reason,
Reason. It's
which
difficult
is
to
the instrument.
pinpoint because we use instruments in so many patients. Every patient doesn't have this, no? It is a risk factor. So
Yeah.
whenever they see a patient who is coming with, like, say, small growth baby or something, and patient is smoking, and you know that that is one of the risk factor. If she says that it is because I'm smoking, never say no, 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 no. It's like normal, which you have been taught. No, never say that you have done something wrong or you could have done something to prevent it. Definitely, she has done something wrong. She was smoking throughout her pregnancy. Baby was bound to be on the smaller side. But how to say this thing without offending her? That smoking is one of the reason of small size baby. Can be one of the cause, but difficult to pinpoint. Play safe. You are also, see, otherwise, if you don't say no, 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 you have not done anything, she'll smoke in next pregnancy as well. How will she understand that she's doing something wrong? But if you say no, you were smoking, that's why baby was small, that will be too offending. You will lose your mask in patient communication, especially if you have any lay examiner. Lay examiner doesn't have any knowledge. They don't understand guidelines. They only understand how you counsel your role player. Am I clear, girls, about this? Clear? Yes. Okay. So now moving further. After diagnosis, how you have to mention the diagnosis, then why this occurred to me? The same question. Same question, Tavinder, this patient also asked. How you'll start? Exact cause not known, though there may be other reasons, like when any tear or cut left for self-healing. That is secondary cure, prevention. Repeated trauma or friction. If area is moist most of the time, if there is ongoing irritation, if there is low grade infection, if poor perineal hygiene, prolonged swelling, or more common in first delivery, using instruments, if there is any tear. Clear?
Yeah.
Clear, everyone? She is going to ask this question, why this has happened to me. Exact cause not known, but these can be the reasons. Here itself, you can mention about more commonly in this, more commonly in this, more commonly in this. If she asks because I was smoking, because my BMI, because of diabetes, say clearly no. There is no relation of smoking or high BMI or high sugar in pregnancy with having granulation tissue. This is a very important patient safety point. And of course, applied clinical knowledge. There is no relation with this. Clear? So
Yes.
why this occurred? So there could be many reasons. Clear so far, girls?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is certain, I have given this just for your information. If you get SD or if she wants to ask, what are the most common side of the posterior forehead, then the vaginal mucosa and episiotomy scar. If it is recognized before 6 weeks in all episiotomy delivery or perineal tear delivery, they have been called always 6 weeks after. Not after 6 weeks, like somewhere around 6 weeks for their review. Okay? So that's why they are saying if managed conservatively, can manage conservatively if we able to find out before 6 weeks. That's why whenever there is postpartum patient where they have been given episiotomy, we always give them red flag sign. If there is any pain, any bleeding, any foul smelling discharge from your cut, report us immediately, because if they report us on time, that is before 6 weeks, hypertrophic granulation can be managed 40%. That is 4 out of 10 only with conservative management. Further treatment is needed in 6 out of 10. 1 out of 2 would be needing medical and 2 out of 100 would be needing surgical. So if you can remember this, this will be good enough. 4 out of 10 conservative, 5 out of 10 or 1 out of 2 medical, 1 to 2, or you can simply say 2 out of 100 with surgical treatment needed. So these 3-4 lines are important. The first most common site is just for your information. You are not supposed to mention this to your role player for sure. Medical management, if we do between 6 to 12 weeks, it is almost 100% effective. Surgical management, we need to do 12 to, if patient is coming somewhere between 12 to 44 weeks, probably medical management won't be that effective. So here, probably first you may start with medical management, but there are high chances that she would be needing surgical management, and it is 100% effective, no recurrence. So this you have to memorize. 40%, 50%, and 15%. What level of treatment she might be needing. And medical, but you can say that. She's coming at 8 weeks. How you are going to counsel her for medical? Which is saying, no, I want definitive treatment. I want definitive treatment is not excision. Even medical management is also definitive treatment. So do not get confused that she's saying medical management, so it is going to be surgical management. No. Understand, medical management or surgical management, both are definitive treatment. Clear? So a patient asks, give me definitive treatment, kindly do not jump to surgical management thinking, oh, this is the definitive treatment. No. A patient is coming between 6 to 12 weeks, medical management has a 100% recovery rate. Surgical management, 12 weeks to 44 weeks. If patient is coming, just suppose as 14 weeks, and if she asks, I want some definitive treatment, then you can mention. Medical management is 100% effective if offered before 12 weeks. So we can start with medical management, but from 12 weeks onwards, surgical management is 100% effective. Am I clear about this statement, girls?
Yes.
This is a very important statement. You get confused that patient has come at 8 weeks, patient has come at 6 weeks. She is asking for definitive treatment, and most of the students suggesting surgical treatment. No. Clear? See, what I'm trying to make you understand in this exam, what I have understood, They were judging for these small points. They were judging. That role player was trying to delude candidate by asking definitive treatment, and everybody is offering surgical. No, patient is 6 weeks. Patient has come at 8 weeks. Medical management is also definitive management. Clear about this, girls? Why I'm emphasizing on this particular point? Clear?
Yes, ma'am. So we have to say to the patient that as you are at 6 weeks, so the medical management would be 100% effective from 6 to
Medical
12 weeks.
management will be see now how you'll say, we'll say there are two options, medical and the surgery. Coming at 8 weeks, even medical management has 100% effectiveness or 100% cure rate. Okay, how you'll say? Now you repeat.
There are two options for your management. First is medical and the surgical. Coming at 8 weeks, so the medical management would be 100% effective, and there is 100% cure rate. And after from 12 to 44 weeks, the surgical management would be 100% effective, and there would be no chances of recurrence.
Tavinder, say it little bit in a covering way. How you'll say in a covering way, right? Why? Because if your patient asks, so you are 100% sure there won't be any recurrence, it is given in talk 100% effective.
Okay.
But it is also given that if there is failure, so you have to cover this. Coming at 8 weeks, even medical management can be considered as definitive management because we have seen 100% cure rate. Though if you do not show any improvement, then we can offer you surgical management. Now patient is coming at say 14 weeks. We can start with medical management for you, whatever, Sarah. Okay, Sarah, we can start with medical management, though it is more effective when it is offered before 12 weeks. But if you do not show any improvement, surgical management is preferred from 12 weeks onward, which has very good recovery rate with no recurrence. Am I clear, Davinder, about this?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So, see, these questions are very tricky questions. So, your answer should be also very tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, sorry for disturbing you again.
Okay.
So, I have to say that I want to offer you, there are two types of treatment which we can offer, medical and the surgical treatment. As you are at 8 weeks, so the medical management would be more effective, and it would be 100.
No, not more effective. Surgical will also be effective. Medical management can be used as definitive treatment which you are willing for.
Okay, medical management can be used as definitive treatment which you are willing for, and we have seen the patient with the
100% recovery.
100% recovery with the medical management at this at this weeks. But as now, if the patient come at 14 weeks, so as you are on 14 weeks, so we can start with the medical management, but the most effective would be the surgical at this period of time, and this period of time. And
that's it. That's it. 2 lines are more than you have conveyed your message pretty clear. Okay. Now management. So now I'll start. So we have certain conservative management, certain medical, and the surgical. Do you have any preference to understand? Again, I want some definitive treatment. Okay. I'll come to that, but conservative management is suggested for all the patients, like maintaining the hygiene down below, right? Performing sitz bath. You can even apply numbing gel. There are some steroids which you can apply. Performing the exercises under the supervision of physiotherapist is always helpful. I'm also going to write you some pain relief drugs. Clear? Touch, go, touch, go. Clear?
Yes,
As far
ma'am.
as medical treatment is concerned, sorry, topical and vaginal estrogen will come in conservative, not in medical. Okay. So topical steroid I have already written there. Estrogen will also come there. So vaginal estrogen is also here. That's right. Vaginal estrogen. Okay. So first, give her only brief idea. What is that brief idea about treatment? There are certain conservative treatment like maintaining the hygiene down below, sitz bath, numbing gel, steroid, estrogen, exercise, and pain relief. Medical management when we offer the silver nitrate application, and the surgical where we remove it, which we can do in OPD or operation theater if you want to be if you want you to put asleep. And perineoplasty is only offered in case of failed cases. Any preference? I want definitive treatment. So we would suggest you to continue your conservative management. And this is the expert team that consultant, physiotherapist, this specialist, midwife, emotional, psychosexual counselor, especially if patient is having vaginismus. Will suggest you to episiotomy care and the maintaining hygiene. Now, how you are going to start the treatment? So first, I would suggest after this, when you start your treatment, first we'll talk about the expert team. So now you will be under the care of my consultant, physiotherapist, specialist, midwife, emotional, and the psychosexual counselor. Psychosexual counselor only when patient is having any vaginismus. Otherwise, do not mention it. Will suggest you to continue episiotomy care and the maintaining hygiene. Then you talk about there is option of conservative, because while you take this HUPI, you will talk about that are you taking care of your episiotomy? Okay, because this was the part of HUPI, right? That was the part of this part of HOPI. So whatever she is doing, if she is doing a proper care, you will suggest her here itself after offering expert team that continue episiotomy care and maintain hygiene. Then talk about that there is some conservative and the medical and surgical. Most of the patient response to conservative management, that is maintaining the hygiene, sitz bath, lignocaine, typical topical steroid, vaginal estrogen, PFMT, analgesic. Though some may need medical treatment that applying silver nitrate, or surgical where we remove it either in the OPD or operation theater. Last, in the failed cases, we may offer you perineoplasty, where is the proper formation of your down below area. This is how you are going to say. Then you will ask if you have any preference. I am looking for definitive treatment. Then on the basis of her weeks, you are going to mention what is going to be your definitive treatment. Again, I repeat, surgical treatment is not the only treatment which is definitive treatment. Medical treatment is also a definitive treatment depending upon the week she is coming. Then how you are going to start? First, you will reassure her that it is a treatable condition. It is not a cancer. Then detailing of your conservative treatment, that it's supposed to take sitz bath twice or thrice a day. Clean area with water, especially after peeing or passing stool. Frequently change sanitary pad. Frequently change sanitary pads, that is 2 to 4 hourly. Keep that area dry, and psychosexual support if vaginismus is there. So first, you are going to explain her diagnosis, what is granulation tissue, then why this has occurred to me, why I had this, then all the answer which we have just spoken, that's priming, then episiotomy, then tear, then instrument, moist, not taking care, hygiene, low grade infection, continuous irritation. These are the causes. Difficult to pinpoint in your case. So now you will be under the cure expert team. Mention about the expert team. Then the option is conservative, medical, surgical. In conservative, just mention the headings. And most of the patients respond to this. If no response, then medical and surgical both can be considered as definitive treatment depending upon the weeks you are coming. Now, then you assure her that this is a treatable, it's not a cancer, sits bath, clean area, no need of anything else, just clean with water, change your sanitary pad, keep area dry, and the psychosexual support. Now, talking about topical steroid and vaginal estrogen, just 1 or 2 lines. It's not a primary or first line treatment used for, and it is only used for a limited period like 1 or 2 weeks. It helps in reducing swelling, manages overgrowing of tissue, and potentially accelerate the healing. 1% hydrocortisone is the mild one. Clobetasone as moderate to very potent depending upon the which salt we are using, but we do not use this for very long because it causes the thinning of tissue. Clear about topical steroid? Clear about this, girls? You should know this. I'm not saying that you are supposed to mention this, but if she asks, at least you should be knowing the answer. If she's saying permanent treatment, definitive treatment, do not mention topical steroid. Just mention here in conservative management. This. But what if she asks, I have heard about some steroid? You should be knowing the answer. Whenever you prepare tasks, do not prepare tasks keeping the 10 minutes in time in mind that, okay, in 10 minutes she is going to ask only this much question. But what are going to be those many questions you do not know. So you should prepare your template with all probable questions. So whatever she asks, you should be having that answer on your tips. Clear about this, girls? Why you should be knowing about topical steroid? What if she asks about it? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now coming to vaginal estrogen. Vaginal estrogen is something which we never offered to heal episiotomy. Means a patient who has episiotomy and going home and you are offering vaginal estrogen, that can cause hypertrophic granulation tissue. Vaginal estrogen always offered only when there is already developed hypertrophic granulation tissue and patient is breastfeeding. Am I clear about these, girls?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We should not offer vaginal estrogen at normal episiotomy.
See, you have delivered patient has delivered yesterday, and now you are discharging her, and you are offering her vaginal estrogen cream. That is going to make her prone for having hypertrophic granulation. Even if she is having any history in past, okay, if she says, I was having history of hypertrophic, can you give me something? Do not jump to steroid. Do not jump to vaginal estrogen. It is only offered when it is there. Yeah. About this? Clear, yes. Everyone about this? Everyone clear about this? When to offer vaginal estrogen?
Yes, ma'am. With the patient with the granulation tissue, we have to offer vaginal estrogen.
Yes, not before that. Now coming to silver nitrate. This is a definitive treatment between 6 to 12 weeks. So if she asks for definitive treatment, this is going to be your first line treatment. Remember that. How you are going to. Now coming to your medical management or medical treatment, that is applying silver nitrate, which is a chemical. Few lines which you have to mention. It's a painless procedure. Medicine stick looks like matchstick applied by rolling onto area. It helps dry out and shrink extra tissue. It's an office or OPD procedure. At times, more than one sitting needed after 1 to 2 weeks. You may have some mild burning or tissue mild burning, and tissue may turn gray or black. That is normal. That is normal. Suitable for smaller area as first line treatment. Usually no anesthesia is required. At the maximum, applying some numbing gel or cream. Petroleum jelly is used to protect surrounding skin. That is patient safety. If you do not mention this, you are compromising patient safety, because when you apply this silver nitrate, there is high risk that you can burn surrounding area. Am I clear about this?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I
Petroleum jelly.
want volunteer who would like to read this for everyone. What you're going to mention in silver nitrate.
Okay. Ma'am, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Silver nitrate, painless procedure, medicine stick look like matchstick applied by rolling onto the area. It helps dry out and shrink extra tissue. Office procedure at times, more than one sitting needed after 1 to 2 weeks. May feel mild burning and tissue will turn gray. That's normal. Suitable for smaller area. First line treatment. Usually anesthesia is not required. Usually numbing gel or cream. Petroleum jelly used to protect surrounding skin.
Every single line is important. Clear? And if you speak this much, silver nitrate is done for you. Now, surgical excision. Where we use surgical excision? When it is large. When there is pedunculated hypergranulation tissue. It can be done in outpatient, it can be done in OT. And what it involves? Anesthetic infiltration, excision of tissue, and suturing of raw base to promote healing. This is for your understanding. How you are going to explain to your patient. If medicines like cream or silver nitrate do not work, we may need to gently remove it. We call it as surgical excision. Right? How you are going to start with this? For the third option is surgical excision. That is surgical removal of granulation tissue. If medicines like cream or silver nitrate don't work for you, then we may need to gently remove it. What we do? It is a small and quick procedure, usually done in OPD or minor procedure room or operation theater if you are want you to put asleep or you are scared of having pain. We first numb the area using small injection so you won't feel pain. This is for OPD and minor procedure room. So first you will explain this, then you can mention about OT later on. So it will not break your flow. It is a small and quick procedure usually done in OPD or minor procedure room. First we numb the area using small injections so you won't feel any pain. Then we carefully cut away the extra tissue using tiny scissor or a surgical tool. After procedure, you may feel a bit sore for a day or two. We may give you some pain relief cream or medicine. You can go home for the same day, no need to stay. Can suggest to apply estrozine cream after that. After surgical excision, we do offer estrozine cream. Clear, everyone? Clear about this?
Yes,
These
yes.
are the small points which will help you in standing out from the lot. Probably lot will speak many of this, but not all of this. So you will sound little bit more knowledgeable, more taking care of applied clinical knowledge and patient safety when you add these points. Probably rest everyone will speak, but can suggest applying estrogene cream for helping in healing, especially as you are breastfeeding. That is an extra global mark you are going to get for it. Clear about this, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Well done. Now, Definitely, we always offer aftercare suggestion. So first you explain silver nitrate, then you explain surgical excision, and aftercare suggestions explain in one go. So that will save your time. So how we will say? After applying silver nitrate or opting for the surgical removal, there are certain suggestions which you have to be particular about, like keep the area clean and dry, avoid sexual activity, tight clothing, and bathing. You can take showers. Do not apply soaps, just clean the area with plain water. Please contact us in case of increased bleeding, pain, or discharge. Explain silver nitrate, explain surgical excision, then say in both the cases there are certain care which are suggested, like who is going to read this fast for everyone?
Should I, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
After
Ma'am?
Yeah, Fatima, go ahead.
After the procedure, we suggest you to keep the area clean and dry, avoid any kind of sexual intercourse, avoid tight clothing, avoid bathing, avoid applying soap, and contact if there is any increased bleeding, pain, or discharge.
Rather than saying avoid every time, Fatima, you can say in one go and you can save your time. Avoid
Okay.
sexual intercourse.
Avoid sexual intercourse, tight clothing, bathing, and don't apply soap. Contact if in case there is increased bleeding, pain, or discharge.
Now you understood. Clear? See,
Yes, ma'am.
these small tricks save your time. Trust me on that. In the end of the task, there is only fight for 30, 40 seconds at the max for 1 minute. It is not that you are needing 3 minutes still to complete your task. Never like that. It's always fight for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and 1 minute, and you think that you are not able to finish that. How you can save time? This way you can save it. Clear? These are the small tips and tricks if you remember while starting your preparation from today itself. When you are presenting to your mentor in your free session, wherever you are presenting, when you are discussing with your study buddy, take care of these small points. Eventually, it will come in your practice and it will become like a spinal reflex. Without putting any pressure on your mind, it will come automatically. And eventually, after practicing 15, 20, 30 tasks, you will be master of completing your task in 9 minutes. Mark my words. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, again, aftercare together, then aftercare issues together. There may be some issues in healing. There can be hypertrophic scarring, means overgrowth of scar. That can be a thick scar. Hypertrophic, you can say, there can be a thick scar. Scar, they understand. Scar is not a jargon. Scar is a layman word. There can be a thickened scar. The scar can be hard and painful. How will you say this? Who is going to say this for me? There can be some issues in healing.
The scar can be
thickened scar
hard.
can be hard and painful. How will you say this? One line.
There would be some issue after the procedure. The scar can be get hard and painful.
No, there might be some issue. Not say that there will be some issue. There might be some issue.
There might be.
Having thickened scar, which may be hard and painful. Say, repeat. Repeat.
There might be some issue after the procedure. The scar can be thickened and painful.
There can be a thick scar which may be hard and painful. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So that may cause, again, pain down below and difficult sexual activity. So it is suggested that do a massage with sweet almond oil. It should be a very gentle massage. Physiotherapy, performing the exercises. This will soften your scar. This will soften your scar. Why physiotherapy softens scar? Because physiotherapy increases the blood supply.
Mm.
Yeah. If still there is some trigger points or pain, then we can offer you some injections for persistent pain or discomfort. That can be steroid or anesthetic locally. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you speak this much for episiotomy granulation tissue, you will pass with global scoring. Clear about this? Any question about granulation tissue episiotomy? Anyone? Any question? Am I clear about this? You got how it's not about episiotomy granulation tissue. Did you understand how to approach a task? How to save
Yeah,
your
yeah.
time?
Ma'am, I want to ask you one question. Ma'am, like the patient was asking me that after how many weeks I can resume the sexual intercourse?
The only answer for this is for few days. Normally it's 2 weeks. Because silver nitrate, you may need 1 to 2 weeks, another sitting, right? And when you are performing a surgery, because you are putting sutures, no? Because you are putting sutures. So how you are going to say that it is normally suggested to avoid sexual activity 2 to 4 weeks, right? But if you feel comfort, there is no pain and no difficulty in intercourse, you may try after this. Clear?
Okay.
Normally 2 to 4. Because see, if there is suture down below, and that is the secondary suturing, because already we have repaired episiotomy. So 2 to 4 weeks. Somewhere it is given 2 weeks, somewhere it is given 4 weeks, somewhere it is given few days. Play safe. It is normally suggested 2 to 4 weeks because healing will take around 2 weeks. No, if you have suture today, it will take around 2 weeks to heal, even if it is absorbable suture. So how will you say it is suggested to avoid sexual? It was your task, Kavinder?
No, ma'am. In my patient, I'm working in NHS, so the patient are always like
Simply
the
say,
same.
normally healing takes around 2 to 4 weeks. So it is suggested to avoid sexual activity during this period. But if you feel comfortable after 2 weeks, there is no pain, there is no bleeding discharge, you can gently resume your sexual activity. Clear?
Okay.
That's all for today. Any question, girls?
Ma'am, is there a talk for this, ma'am?
There is a talk, not a proper talk, but definitely there is a talk for this perineal dehiscence and perineal episiotomy granulation. I'll post this talk in there is one Telegram badge for the second part, part 2 MRCOG, where are you there in that badge?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll post this talk there in postpartum module, right? There is a talk about it.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, this percentage and this much detail I didn't find in that talk, ma'am, Dyson's talk. So actually, it is a lot of learning experience.
It's not only talk which I have pursued. I have gone through many NHS PIL. I have gone through many RCOG. Whatever I got the material which is related to UK. So I think, but these percentage is given in talk. If I'm not wrong, no, this is given in talk, dear. This I picked up from talk only.
I'll check.
You can check. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions? I think this was helpful for you. So
it was a nice
Ma'am,
class.
it's very helpful. And the question which you put in this scenario is the same which the patient asked. It's very realistic scenario and very realistic questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'll be keep doing these live sessions frequently because I do not post tasks very frequently because I prefer live session because again it's a task, it's an exam of speaking. So mostly it is going to be live session. I'll try to be like once in a 7 days or 10 days, at least once in a week. So, and I'm starting my courses as well from June itself. If you have any query, you can DM me or you can WhatsApp me.
Ma'am, can I ask you one question, please?
Sure.
I just finished my MRCOG part 2 the last January. Is it wise to sit for November exam or should I try for
January? No. So it's already 5 months, no?
Yes, but I just started to know these things from the last month
See,
and the
still you
previous.
have June, July, August, September, October. 5 months are more than enough. More
Thank
than
you,
enough.
ma'am.
The only thing you have to be consistent. Every day 2 hours means every day 2 hours you have to study. If you have made a timetable, you have to follow that timetable. If you have decided to read 3 tasks every day, you have to read 3 tasks every day. And the very important thing, Fatima, you have to make your template from very first day. Do not leave anything for the second day or third day, or I'll do it tomorrow. If you are reading any task, make a proper template. How to make a template? Take print out of TOG, RCOG, whatever you are having, right? Take print out. Staple that. Make your
Yes.
template, just write your template. It may take some time, but it is only one time investment. Make your template properly from introduction till consultant appointment. After that, staple at least 2 or 3 blank pages. Whenever you attend or whenever you come to know anything new, say in information gathering, so in blank page, just one page you write information gathering. Whatever new you are getting, just write there. Second page, you write about information, this second part of the task. Whatever other information you're getting, write there. Rather than making a new template altogether, it's not possible. But making template from the very first day for each task is very important, because whatever you write, it
Yes.
always imprint in your mind and it is very easy to revise.
Yes, ma'am.
Revision is very important. So start making your template the way I have told you from today itself. And if you really want to pass exam, or this is for everyone, consistency is very important. You have to be persistent with your preparation. It should not be that, okay, I have marriage, then I have this, I have that, so I didn't study today. No. If you can spare time for watching movie, going out, watching TV, I think you can spare 2 hours in 24 hours for preparing your exam. So if really anyone's not about Fatima who wants to clear exam, consistent, you have to be consistent with your preparation. That's the only suggestion I would like to give. From today itself, do not wait that, okay, after a day, after 2 days. Trust me, time literally flies.
Yes, ma'am.
You will not realize and November will be there. And with every exam, I'm telling you, they are making it more difficult. Earlier, they were not publishing so many talks. Now, every now and then one talk. And you cannot miss any talk. Any talk. If you appear, say, in 26 May, there are going to be 15 talks more. If you are going to appear in November 26, there are going to be 30 talks more. So do not leave, okay, there is no next time. I don't believe in next time. It's today. It's now. You have to be that much motivated today itself. Today itself. I've seen students who have cleared in one go. I've witnessed. So it means that's sorry, that's possible. The only thing, that motivation should come inside. If you can spare time for anything, you can spare time for your study as well. Otherwise, you are busy 24/7. You are all gynecologists, you are all working, practicing, but you have to spare 2 hours. And how to spare? If you want to cut short your sleep, if you rather than sleeping at 11, you're sleeping at 1, it's fine. Eventually, you are going to gain it, no? Or another option is giving exam again and again, paying hefty fees to college, that is around 1 lakh, 1.5 lakhs, and paying hefty for taking the expensive courses every time and spending or your 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs. Is absolutely, choice is yours. I hope I'm clear what I'm trying to say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So choice is yours. Okay? All the best. Good night. Bye-bye.
Ma'am.